there's a lot of things that I wish I would have known earlier in publishing. So hopefully just sharing some of these things will help some of you all out.
Well, thanks so much. We're exactly at the top of the hour. If you'd like to start, and I can watch the waiting room if you want,
Yeah.
and you could present, and I'll just let people in and out and keep them muted until it's. Do you want people to chat their questions into the chat box?
Yeah, I can't see the chat box, so if you could just let me know if I'll ask for questions at the end and just let me know what they are. Perfect. Can you see this bar at the top here? Do you see this here?
No, I just see your presentation screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. There you go. I'll hand it over to you.
All right, sounds good. Okay, I'm TL Christianson, and I am, let me give you a little bit of information. I guess my whole issue is authors working together are always better. I really have never found competition to be an issue, because if I'm working with another author that I can send my readers to, then they can read from them and they'll come back. So yeah, everything, I think my biggest issue, my biggest point I want to get across is that we're just all in this together. So yeah, so let me get started. Oh, okay. So here's a little outliner of what I'm gonna cover, just so you kind of know what to expect, because I'm an ex-teacher. So I'd like to let you guys know. So I'm just going to do a disclaimer, a little bit about me before we start. Things you should know about your book, about you, common pitfalls. Oh, and we're going fast. Sorry, guys. Expecting quick success, unprofessional product, spending too much, no advertising, going in blind, but being an author is worth it. And then I have some local recommendations for you guys of professionals. Okay, my disclaimer to you guys, I'm not a marketing expert. I don't have a business degree. I'm an author who's worked hard. I've struggled. I've been bullied, but I've had a lot of luck. And I was able to produce 2 best-selling books. So this year in 2020, and actually I still have 3 books on the bestseller list of Amazon in young adult. So this is just an overview. I want you guys to know, I would love to get into details, but there's just so many little things. So if you have questions, we can go more off onto that. But other than that, I'm just going to kind of give you an overview. And then if you have questions, we can go there. Also, this is my personal opinion. I mean, take this with a grain of salt. My words aren't gospel, but all I want to do is help you be a better author and help you succeed. Because yeah, we are much better together than alone. And honestly, I will swear by that. So, because you can't, I'm not one of those writers that puts out a book every 2 weeks. My books release about every 4 to 6 months. So I need somebody else I can send them to. Okay, here's about me. I write urban fantasy and paranormal romance. These are my 2020 releases, and these ones, Cracked Open and Over Easy, are my best-selling series. My background is I've got a bachelor's in history. I used to be a teacher. I am a nutritionist. I'm a survivalist. I was a homesteader. I'm a wife, a mother, and best of all, a published indie author. And then these are all of my books right here that I've published that I've published under my name, TL Christianson. Okay, this is what we're talking about, and this is what everybody really wants. I can't tell you how many times I saw other authors post this, but it's something different when you see your book up on there. And I want you to know that this is possible. I'm a little girl from Durango. I'm not some big fancy New York person. I don't have some fancy degree. I don't have a business degree. But I was going to show you, because you guys can do this. This is very possible, and it's not out of the realm of what you should expect. Okay, before we get into some heavier stuff, here's some reasons why being a writer is worth it. Working from home, determine your own hours, use your creative talents, leave a legacy. And I actually was talking to Erica about this because she has published several of her books so that her grandchildren can see them and that they'll be out there. It's a wonderful community. There are wonderful people in this community. And I mean, I talked to Erica about this. There are some bad eggs, but overall, it is a great community. I really love everybody that you know, most people that I've come across, everybody's really willing to help other people. And yeah, tax write-offs for travel. So I love to travel and I put a lot of travel in my books. And then there's just the satisfaction and doing what you love. I don't know about you guys, but I've been writing and reading since I can remember. I can't remember not telling stories. I can't remember not writing stories. So, and I know many of you are like that. And just to be able to do what you've already been doing and make a living at it. Okay, so here's some things you should know. Do you guys have any questions up to this point? Erica?
I haven't seen any questions. I just want to make sure everybody knows if you have questions to chat them into the chat box. And she can't see it, but I can see it and we'll read them out loud. Or I guess you could also just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Because I mean, this is about you guys. And like I said, I left this more of an overview because, you know, there may be some things that you guys want to get into more, you know, and just ask me about it. And I, you know, I don't mind. Like I just want to make your experience better and make you, help you to get off on better footing, you know, with wherever you are in this.
Dulcie says, I'm grateful for your time and expertise. Thank you, TL.
You're welcome. Like I said, I love it. I love this. This is a huge part of being an author. And what you guys need to realize is most people are just awesome. If you need help and you ask people for help, people are like willing to help you. And, you know, like I said, I've never run into where I felt like I was fighting over a reader. Honestly, you know, when you're in this community, you want to support each other.
And I do have a question here. Linda asked, can you address what kind of bullying you experienced at some point?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys about that. It's, yeah, I'll talk to you guys about that. Well, Erica, do you want me to just tell them right now, or should we continue?
Tell me about what that
It's
was
100% up to you.
Okay. I've seen this before and I had never been a victim of it until I started experiencing success. And it's kind of like once you are on this level where you're kind of becoming visible is when I first experienced it. And what it was for me was I had really, oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what I did. I touched my mouse and now it's freaking out.
It's because you have a new computer.
Okay. So I know I have a new computer and I had to set it up funny. What happened was I started getting nasty people in my group, and I had a specific person who kept messaging me on different social media avenues, and it was under different like pseudo names. And this kept happening and I just like would delete them. And I never really thought of it until my best-selling book came out. And I was so excited. It was #1 in Australia. This was before it went #1 in US. And I was so excited because I mean, you guys know how this is. If you're published, I mean, you crawl and you scratch at any kind of success you can get. So, you know, this is why when I see other authors post that, man, we got to lift them up. But what happened to me, and this is actually common, unfortunately, but I think it's only a few bad eggs. I don't think it's the majority of people, is I just was constantly bombarded with these horrible, horrible messages. And I was really tempted to screenshot it and post it up to shame them. But this person, this was a pseudonym that they were using. And the sad part about it is it was another author. And I don't know how much details I want to get into, but unfortunately, this is a side of being an author and being on social media. And I don't know, Erica and I were talking about it, and unfortunately, it's not even being an author, it's just, being visible on social media. So I just try to ignore it the best I can. These people, there's people that will try to sabotage you, but I'm to this point where, after one day with a nasty message, realizing that this person was really messing with my book listings, I cried almost a whole day. And I was really lucky that I had other authors who I could call and talk to, and really thankful for their expertise and for their, just support, saying, okay, just ignore them, delete them, block them, report them, but these are like sometimes whack-a-mole. So right now I'm okay, but it's just part of being on social media. So I don't know. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay, I'm going to move on. So we're going to start with your book. So when you're thinking about all this, I want you to think of your book. So because this depends, this makes a big difference in how you're going to market your book. So what's your genre? What's your subgenre? Who's your audience? How old are they? Are they male or female? Who's your competition? What books are comparable to your books? What do the best-selling covers look like in your subgenre? What do their blurbs look like? How do they read? What are the tropes that these best-selling authors are, what in these books that are selling the best, what are the tropes? Are they sweet? Are they spicy? Are they clean? And those are kind of fiction things. So I want you guys to have this in your head. We'll come back to this, but I just want these questions to be in your head as we go. So what about your plan? Everyone's needs are different. You need to consider these questions because they'll affect how you market and what strategies will work best, or what you can do. So if you have any questions about these, we can go into it. So are you with a publisher, or are you indie? Are you wide, or are you KU? Because that makes a huge difference in how you're going to market. Are you writing for money, or are you writing for pleasure? Do you like social media, or do you hate it? Like I think you can be an author and you can be away from social media and not do social media, but it makes it a lot more difficult, and you're spending a lot more money because you're not able to kind of do your own free advertising on social media. And then what's your budget?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I don't understand a couple of your terms, blurbs and tropes. Why
Oh yeah,
KU? So would you mind going back a little?
Nope.
Thank you.
No problem. We'll go back to this. So the blurb is like the explanation. So say you go to Amazon's the product page, it'll be the explanation on it. So it'll be like, okay, so like I'll show you, here's my book, and here's the blurb on the back here. And this is what is on Amazon, is this part right here. It's just the explanation of the book. And then what else? The trope?
Actually, I have 2 books on Amazon right now, but I for some reason I missed those terms. Tropes, and then you said wide or KU. I didn't get those either.
Okay, so tropes are like kind of the main topic. So there's like academy, reverse harem. There's what is it? Enemies to lovers. Those are kind of like the tropes. So it's like kind of what's going on, or like of course I can't think of the trope, like all the tropes right now. Friends to lovers. Those are kind of like romance tropes, if that makes sense. Does that? Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Are those kind of like the 5 characteristics Amazon asks you to list?
No, those are keyword. I think that you're talking about keywords.
Yeah.
No, a trope is kind of like, can somebody help me out? I'm trying. It's kind of like this little niche that your book falls in. It's almost like okay, like, you know, if you have like a Hallmark movie and you have like a person who are their enemies and then they fall in love. So that's enemies to lovers. That's the trope, would be enemies to lovers. Or like people, you know, like a couple who's like best friends and then they fall in love. That would be friends to lovers. So it's just kind of like a quick little thing telling what your book is, what kind of the niche is.
Okay. And so wide or KU?
Okay, so KU is Kindle Unlimited, and that's when you go on Amazon and you are exclusive with Amazon and you can get Kindle and you get KU reads. So you get paid per page, and that's but Amazon basically owns your book. Like you can't put it anywhere else. So wide means that you publish on Barnes and Noble, Apple, Google Play, Script. What is it? I mean, there's dozens that you can be on. Like you can be on apps. You can be on apps like Radish, Kiss. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And also, I don't know what subgenre means.
Okay, so like, say you have. Okay, so I'll use mine. My book is young adult, but then it is in a subgenre. It's in several different subgenres. So then it's in a subgenre called like education and academy, or it could be in a subgenre called magical realism. So there's a bunch. So it's kind of like, you know, when you list your book and you do categories and you really refine it down. So those are the subgenres where your book fits. And those are where you want to figure out who your comparables are.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for defining all those.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure you're not the only one. I mean, this is a lot of stuff. Like I said, like this is just an overview. Okay, so I'm going to go into common pitfalls, and there's basically 5 that I could think of that, I mean, I'm sure there's more that, you know, but these are the main ones that I actually see a lot. Okay. The number one pitfall, and I've seen a lot of authors come in with a new book, and when they don't get quick success, they leave, and they're like really, it like, you know, really breaks their spirit. But you can't go in expecting quick success. So publishing is a steep uphill battle. You have to be really diligent. You have to work hard. You probably have to suffer, and even then, you're not guaranteed success. So you need to begin with the long haul in mind. So this shows my generation. I just put, this isn't a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's the freaking Oregon Trail, and your axle just broke. So when you go into publishing and you're really serious about it, you have to realize that, you know, this is a career. You're not, you know, we're all not going to have Twilight and have it be an instant success, or J.K. Rowling, because it's just not realistic. Most of us really have to eke in there and, you know, pay our dues. So yeah, so I just wanted to put this out here. This is the biggest thing I see, and this is the biggest thing why I see new authors quit. Okay, this is the second thing I see. I've seen really amazing authors, and they either don't have a professional cover, or they've made, and I'm not saying you can't make your own cover, but you know, I want you to be realistic about this. You know, unless you're very good at it, I would strongly suggest to, you know, buy a pre-made cover and absolutely use an editor. And these are 2 things that I see all the time, and people wonder, why am I not getting success? And it's like, well, people will judge your book by the cover, and you don't even need to spend a lot. I have an amazing cover designer on Fiverr. She literally charges $10 for a simple cover, and it looks professional. So, I mean, when people are like, oh, I can't afford it, they're just not looking in the right places. And editors are absolutely huge. You don't have to spend a lot of money for a professional editor who will get the job done, but there are a lot of scammers out there. So I want you to be really aware. You need to get references. You need to find qualifications. I'd say $250 to $1,000 is what you will pay for a book around 60 to 80,000 words. So if you're paying more than $1,000, you better be J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, because that's ridiculous. But what I see a lot of other authors who are trying to scramble and make money in other ways, and they have no qualifications to be editing. And I'll be completely upfront with you. This kills me because I am a stickler for typos and errors in a book. And if I'm reading, like I've had friends who I may really be interested in the story, but if I can't get past your first page without a typo, I can't continue reading it. And I think a lot of readers who are willing to pay money will not stand for that, and they won't read you. So I also have, I was going to put this out there. My editor right now is in Durango, and she is actually open to clients, and she's pretty affordable. So I put her name at the end, and I can refer her. She has 20 years of experience and is getting her doctorate right now in English. If anybody needs that. Are there any questions, or are we good?
I don't see any in the chat. Let's see, Linda put in a chat about popular story tropes, and Carla put in something about tropes that says in the arts, a trope is simply a common convention in a particular medium. And somebody said you could just Google them. Yeah. So sorry, it's a bit late on that.
Absolutely. No, I Google stuff all the time. Like even now I'll come across a term and I'm like, okay, what's the difference between sweet and clean? I'm like, somebody said this was sweet, somebody said this is clean. And then spicy level is another thing that like I'm kind of trending away from romance just for me, you know, I don't know, but that's another thing. That's like the spice level. You have to be really specific on that because it really comes into play with your marketing. Okay, we'll get to pitfall 3. I can't tell. Oh, this is a huge one, and this drives me crazy. I see new authors, they don't have the money to spend, and they are spending way too much. And things I mostly see people waste money on are their website. I can't tell you, there are tons of KU authors that make, I want to say, based on their ratings, they probably make over 5 figures a month, and they do not have a website. So a website, unless you want to make it yourself, and you know, but you've got to think of, you know, that's kind of like, to me, I feel like that's kind of wasted money. And you guys are like, well, you have a website. I have a website, but also I'm making money. You know, this is my business, and I have to have a website for at this point in my career. But if you're if you're new and you're not selling books, I would say hold off and advertise in better ways, because even now I don't get a ton of traffic on my website, but it still leads people to other things. And so, yeah. Okay. Another thing I see people waste a lot of money on is personal assistants or a PA. And this one thing I try to tell people is like, are you making enough money to pay them after your expenses? Are you even making enough money to pay yourself? If you are not making enough money to pay yourself, then you should not have a personal assistant. I'm telling you, like, I've got a pretty heavy load and I've had personal assistants before, but that's one thing that I think is almost a vanity thing, unless you are really big, unless you are a really big author and you just have a lot of stuff. I mean, even now I have a PA that she does my ARCs, and ARCs are something, you know, they're an advanced review copy that goes out before the book is published. And that is something that the reason I keep her on is because my readers are more comfortable talking to her and her like cracking the whip when she's like, you need to get your reviews out, than if I'm doing it. And that's the one area where I found that having somebody else do that for you. But if you don't have an ARC team, you don't need, like I did my ARC team for a long time. Okay. So know what to pay for things, really get into the author community, ask people, ask other authors, what are you paying for this? What should I be paying for this? Because this is huge. This is just huge. And I don't want to see anybody waste money on stuff that, doesn't need to be there, or, you don't need to have it.
I have a question that comes from one of the chats. How do you feel about a free WordPress site to begin with?
I think that's really up to you personally. But personally, I would not want to be changing websites like midstream, because here's what goes on is you have to, you want that website on all of your social media sites. You want it on in all of your books. You want it in all of your back matter. And, for example, I have mine even like on my promotional things. So once you get a website, I mean, unless you have a really good reason for needing one, I mean, that's fine if you're just starting out, but be aware that, when your business grows bigger, you may have to change that. And so you want to make sure that you're able to change that in all of your, it's rough because I don't even know how many sites have my website on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what you're saying, it sounds to me like what you're saying is don't get a website until you can afford one, and then keep the one you have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because that's like the anchor, if you can tell people, www, this is my website. It's printed on your business cards. It's in your books. Like I was thinking about it. I have my website like everywhere. It's in my back matter. These books are in the library. So it's like when these people, if they want to find me and they get this in here in the library, then they're able to find me. But that's my only concern about that. Like I love those free websites, but if just be aware that you're going to have to change that. So yeah. Anything else on this one?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Okay. It's so funny because all of these, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen these, and it's even, and a lot of these things are things that I've done, which is why I don't want you guys to go in this, but this is a huge one. I have a really good friend who's an author. She writes in the same genre, and she cannot figure why she doesn't sell books. She's an amazing author. She has great covers, but she does no advertising at all. And I mean, that's the thing, you have to advertise. So before you guys freak out, I have a whole list for you, but books don't sell themselves. No matter how amazing your cover, your blurb writing, don't count on this. Your book is not going to sell. There was once a time when you could pop your book on Amazon and it would sell, but that is not the case. Your book will be shuffled to the, there are millions of books on Amazon. So do not count on being discovered unless you have ads. So here's some easy advertising stuff. What can you do? This is just stuff you can. So here's easy advertising. Get involved on Goodreads. Review. Join a reading group on there. Network on there. Fill out all of your author bios on all the sites where you have books, on BookBub, Goodreads. There's just a ton of book sites. Get on those, claim your author bio, and fill it out. That is easy and cheap advertising right there. Do free newsletter spots. There are newsletter sites that you can go on and you can get a free spot, or you can get a cheap one for like $5. Sign up for BookFunnel and participate in builders or sales events. I'm not a huge proponent of BookFunnel. I have a love-hate relationship with BookFunnel, but you can do it pretty cheap. It is a paid site, but there are a lot of great author networking and promotion things you can do. That sign up for Booksprout. Booksprout is a great thing if you're a new author and you want to get your book out there. It's free, and you can give review copies out on that, and that's all free. Ooh. Okay, so then let's get to Facebook and social media free advertising. Join a book group and participate, but do not spam them. I'm talking, comment on the posts, comment on conversations in the group. Do not spam a group unless you are allowed to post a promotional post, because there are groups, there's like dozens of groups probably in your genre. that you can post any kind of promo in. Okay. And I see those a lot. Okay. If you don't have a page on Facebook or you don't have a page on Instagram, make one, or make a group on Facebook. Do takeovers, do giveaways, do newsletter swaps with other authors. But keep in mind, you must have your own newsletter list. You have to have an established newsletter list. And then this is another thing I really wanted to talk about. So say you have your newsletter list, you have your newsletter that goes out, you're building your own list, and you want to swap with another author. Never pay. This is a big thing in social media right now, is there are these authors that are charging to swap. If somebody's charging you to swap, it is a scam. It's not done in the author community, and it is looked down on, because this is like, I've had other authors help me and do a swap. I know they had a bigger list than me, but they helped me. So it's like, I know, I'll meet new authors and I'll do a swap with them. Because pass it on. So like, you build, people above you will help you, and you can continue to share that with other people. And most of all, help other authors. If somebody needs a question and you know the answer, step in there and be friendly. Because like I said, it's a community of some amazing people. Okay. And then now we're going to get to paid advertising. And I kind of put a warning on this. Before we go to paid advertising, are there any questions on this other stuff?
I'm interested in the newsletter swapping. I don't know what that means or what it involves.
Absolutely. Okay. So most authors build up a list, and like, say you go to my website and it'll ask you, would you like to subscribe to TL's newsletter? And you subscribe. So I have these lists of people, and I send out 2 newsletters a month. Okay, so that's my newsletter. So it's my personal newsletter. And what's really great about this is my avenue of advertising that I control. I don't pay for. I am the boss and the master of this advertising stream. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go on Facebook. This is usually where these happen. And I'll be like, hey, I'm looking for a young adult, white author to swap with me. And oh, hey, I'll you're like, hey, and so then they send you their link, you send them your link. Usually I ask for proof if I don't know the author. So I'll be like, hey, can you send me a link to your newsletter or a screenshot? And yeah. And then, they'll tell me when they're going to send mine out, and I'll tell them when I'm going to send theirs out. And it's hit or miss, it's just more eyes on your book. Anything else with that?
Let me look. There's a chat. It says, what are you swapping? Are you swapping email addresses or the newsletter content, or what?
Okay. You are swapping kind of like an ad. So like when I swap with another author, they give me their link. And so what I will post in my newsletter is I'll post a picture of their book. I'll usually post the blurb, and I will post a box like that says, learn more or something. And it's a link to their book, so that when my people open my newsletter, it has kind of the, hey, I kind of tell them about what's going on. It depends on what I have in the newsletter, but it's like, my stuff. Sometimes I'll give them like a sneak peek or like, pictures or something. And then below that, I'll have featured reads. So I'm really picky. I don't do a lot of these because my subscribers, they trust me and they trust who I'm recommending. So when they get my newsletter, yeah, so there's so much about newsletters you can go into, but yeah, so that's what they're giving me. So basically they're advertising in my newsletter. Like I'm sharing their book in my newsletter.
And okay. And then they're sharing your book in their newsletter.
Yeah.
And then do you do that for like 1 newsletter or 2 or 6, or do you decide that up front?
It's best to do it in every one, because here's the thing is, my readers want something more to read. So if I can give them something else to read, especially if it's like a sale or something, then that's bonus for me. What it means is my subscribers will keep opening my newsletters because they know I'm going to give them good books. Does that make sense? Like even when I don't have a book coming out, if I have somebody else's book that I can share with them, then they're going to keep opening my newsletter because I'm giving them something each time.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you. Oh, wait, there's another question here. Blog tours too. I don't know what blog tours.
So blog tours are when your book is advertised on several different blogs. And so the blogger posted up, I'll be completely upfront with you guys. I have never seen much traction with that. I think it used to be really big, but I think that there's just so many bloggers now. Now, don't get me wrong, there could be somebody great. And please let me know if there's like an amazing blogger out there, because I would love to share my stuff with them. But in all honesty, I've never seen any big traction with that. And does that answer the question or?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. And here's another grain of salt to keep in mind is every genre is different. Even what I've noticed is like little subgenres. What works for me may not work for you. What doesn't work for me could work for you. But in the authoring community right now, blog tours are not doing very well. Okay, should we move on to paid advertising?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So I know you guys are mostly aware of these, but I just want to put them out there. Do not expect to just go on to Amazon, Facebook, or whatever, make an ad and expect it to work. These are, I kind of call these pay to play situations. You either pay to learn how to do ads one way or another. So you either pay by trial and error, which is kind of how I did. And then I ended up taking a class, or you pay for a class. The thing is you are going to pay for this one way or another. It's not something that's comes natural. And so just so you're aware of that, they can be really effective, but you are going to pay one way. You're either going to pay for ads, learning it. So anyways, so the different kinds are Amazon ads, Facebook ads, BookBub ads. And those are just, I don't know if you open up your books for the, like your deal of the day, like email, and that little ad at the bottom is what that BookBub ad is. And then there's the all coveted BookBub featured deal, BBFD, and there's other services like them. So there's so many places you can do ads, and this kind of goes up to, see how I have this cheap, free or cheap newsletter spots up here in easy advertising. So there are more expensive newsletter spots that you can get, but my advice to you is keep track of the date that your book is going out and keep track how many downloads you have. So you can be like, oh, hey, well, Book Raid did really well for me, but the Fussy Librarian doesn't really do good for me. So I got you. Do you know does that make sense, guys? Keep track of them so you know which newsletters to go back to, which newsletters are your book is actually selling on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And this is so complicated. Like we could go into all this. If you guys have any questions, I can, dip into it a little bit if you want to know more about that. But if not, we can move on.
I have a comment that just says, I hate newsletters. Good to know. I hate newsletters. It takes me 2 hours a day to delete all of them.
Unsubscribe. And this is what I would want is I actually go through, and if I notice if somebody is not active and they haven't opened like my last 2 newsletters, I will delete them off my list, because I want people who are going to open my newsletters. And there are a lot of people who like newsletters. And so, yeah, keep that in mind, just because you don't like them, because I'll be completely upfront with you. I'm not a good newsletter buddy. Like, I think the one newsletter I like is like CNN's top 10. And it's just basically like a quick news thing because they're giving me something. And that's the other thing. When you do your newsletter, make sure you're giving that person, your subscriber, a reason to be opening that newsletter. So I know I could go off on tangents. So, okay, I'm going to move on next. Okay, number 3, going in blind. And this is where all those questions at the beginning came from. Do your research. If you really want to sell books, you need to know this stuff. Like, you should have answers to every single one of these questions because they're very important. It's basically you're walking in blind. And I'll be honest with you, my first series I did, I'm thankful that I have some really loyal readers that love it, but it doesn't sell as well as my young adult series. And you know, I love that series. That's kind of like a heart series, but it didn't fit in a niche. And so that's kind of what you need to know. So it's like, I'm not saying that you need to necessarily write to what you think will sell, but it helps you to know, oh, well, maybe if I did this, it'll fit in this category better. And I'll tell you why I say, like, I hate telling you this. I don't want to tell you what to write. If this is your hobby, write what you want to write. But if you really want to make money, you need to write something that will sell. So you want to find out what's selling. And if you have a great idea that fits in there, maybe you could be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? These books would have, like, maybe my first series would have worked better if I would have just made it young adult instead of romance. So, I mean, these are kind of things that I could look at. And I look at that now and I'm like, yeah, but, you know, I'd rather just write new books than to rewrite old books. But yeah, these are things, you know, so you can be like, okay, well, I really love writing this and I could still write this and make money. So I don't know. Is that kind of making sense to anybody?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I had a couple of questions that I didn't see in comments. Could I tell them now or do you want to wait? Okay,
Yeah.
So one, Dulcie says, brilliant insights, thanks TL. I'll pay more attention to the numbers my blog is getting. And Carla would like to know what newsletter provider service you use, MailChimp or Constant Contact or?
I actually, I use, what is it called? I have a Wix. My website is through Wix and my newsletter is through a newsletter service with them. I don't recommend them. I ended up paying for like 3 years and I regret it because I'm stuck with them. But there it is. If I had to recommend one, I'd recommend MailerLite. But here's kind of the problem is when your newsletter gets so big, this is why I have it with my website, is my newsletter was about, at its biggest, I think it was about 19,000 subscribers. I was not making the money to support, like, I mean, that would have been several $100s a month for me to have MailChimp or for me to have MailerLite. Since I've really pruned my, my list, like this is really, really important. I would go MailerLite. MailerLite is a great service. You can really, as you start marketing, you realize you have different groups of people who follow you. And so it's like, you have your like diehard readers. Well, you want those people, they get the best thing on your list. Okay. If you know they're opening your newsletter every single time, guess what? When you have a new release, they're the first one to get the email. And then you want to you can stagger it out. And then it's like, okay, well, the people that maybe have a lower open rate, they get the new release, or they get this, you know, the next day after release. Like you can send people different things. And so MailerLite is I really recommend them. I used them before. I just had, my list got too big. And so, yeah, so that's another thing I'm saying is like, when you have your subscribers list, you need to really trim people out, because if people are not opening up your newsletter and your newsletter is going to spam, Google will start categorizing your newsletter as spam for other readers. So I get this a lot with my service is you have to ask people, sometimes you have to ask people to whitelist. And that's like in my first, like I have an outgoing, like say somebody subscribes, I have an outgoing setup that they get automatic newsletters to try to help them so that they will see more of my newsletters. if that makes sense. I mean, there's a whole crazy stuff that goes in place, but people can sign up and they won't get it. It'll go to their spam and they'll never see it. So, I mean, that's the reality there too.
That's really interesting to know. I wouldn't have thought of that. Elizabeth is asking, she's interested in just some kind of idea of a paid advertising budget, a suggestion like of a sum to start with, and what you found most beneficial.
I would suggest doing, what is his name? There's a guy, I'll have to put it, I'll give you his name. It's like Brian. Let me see if I have it in my email real quick. He does a free Amazon course. If you're not making a lot of money, I would say do not go more than like $3 on Facebook, and do not do bids higher than like 25, 30 cents on Amazon. You have to be really careful. Facebook will spend all of your money. So whatever you set your limit at, Facebook will spend it. Amazon, I made a mistake on one of my ads and I was charged like $500 one day. And I'm really lucky and blessed that I was able to make that up, but you need to be really careful with this. Really look at all of your ads before they post. Make sure you have, like spending caps, and like Facebook, as I say, they're good and bad about this because they do have spending caps, but then I know one time I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, my sales are really down today. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Why have my sales dropped like halfway? My ads had all turned off. So I hit the spending cap and all my ads had turned off. So, okay. I'd say no more than like $3 to $5, and make sure you're budgeting for this because that adds up really quick. So, I mean, you could, if your bid's really low on Amazon, you could probably get away with like doing a $3 to $5 limit on like a bunch of ads, and you'll only spend like maybe $1.50 a day, but be very careful and keep an eye on them.
That's really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think we're moving on from this unless there's any more questions. Okay, so I know all of this seems crazy and it's like really convoluted and really hard work. It is. I mean, I'm learning things every day, and you just have to keep up with it. It's tough. It's a changing, you have an ever moving target. And it's hard. But is it worth it? Yes. And here's why. And I want to give you more reasons to realize how amazing being a writer is. Reading is part of your job. I love reading. I can't tell you that is awesome because I'm a reader first. So, so's daydreaming, so's traveling, so's finding inspiration. As an author, as you continue in this business, then your confidence increases. And as a writer, you can share those experiences that you have. You create and maintain wonderful relationships. Like, I've met some amazing people. I can't tell you how many readers I've connected with and other authors I've connected with. And it's, it gives me so much richness to my life. So you have an excuse to try new things as an author. I mean, you may need this for research. And this is a thing I talked about with Erica, is writing is an amazing therapy. Like, it kind of, it's cathartic. You're putting it out there, and whether you're fiction or nonfiction, you're emptying kind of your heart vessel out there, and examining that. You're joining a community who understands you. I mean, us as writers, I think we tend to be more sensitive to things. We tend to notice things. And I think, that's kind of cool. Signing books. Okay. Signing books is really cool. I have to say, it was like weird the first few times I did it, but it is so fun. And it's awesome when you meet people who have read your books, and it's like they've been in your brain, and you can just talk about this like amazing world. It's very fun. That's fun. I really think you can change lives, even though I write fiction. I was talking to Erica about this. I struggle with my own issues, and I've written about certain things, and I've had writers, message me on Facebook or message me on Instagram, and we end up chatting on the phone and crying with each other. I mean, even if you're writing fiction, and I hate to be like this, I know my stuff isn't like life changing, but I feel like I've given some people, like I've given them at least a few hours of joy and escape, because the world is a really tough place. And I think having that little escape helps people. So I feel like that brings meaning to the world. Flexible lifestyle. I work from home. COVID-19 had nothing on me. I was already here. Buddy. You can inform and instruct people. Like, look at Erica. She's using all of her background and she writes nonfiction books to help people who have chronic illnesses. And that's a really big thing. So yeah, feel more alive. Accomplishment. I don't know about you guys, but I stayed home with my kids for almost 20 years as a stay-at-home mom. And after, having a college education and having a career and then being at home, that's tough. So it's nice to come back and feel like I'm contributing to the world again. I mean, I know I don't want to downplay that, but if you're a stay-at-home mom, you know how marginalized we are sometimes. Entertain, educate, inspire, meet interesting people, leave your comfort zone, choose your own pace, financial freedom. And I really think I wanted to really make this clear to you guys, is that it is doable. It's doable for you guys. Now, are we all going to be like millionaires? Like I keep holding up like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling. No, but you can make it a business. It's your own business. And this one thing that I wasn't really aware of is as an author, as an indie author, I am basically running a small business. So, I'm my own boss. I set my own deadlines, but sometimes those are tough, but yeah, you can have financial freedom and just personal fulfillment, learn about yourself. And I think I have some of these that are duplicates, but I do want you guys to realize that this is attainable. And, and this is something that could bring a lot of joy to your life.
TL, somebody's asked a question about how your business is set up. For instance, do you have an LLC? Are you a sole proprietor? If you have an LLC, what's that called?
Okay. Most authors don't need an LLC. I've considered it, being when I started, my business started to be bigger, but there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of business stuff. So from the beginning, I started out just being a sole proprietor. And actually, I have a whole legal book on being an author, and it's written by another author who's a lawyer. And let me see if do I have that right here accessible? Anyways, I'll have to give you guys the name of it, but long story short, that's usually the best path to go. It's easy. You don't have to have a business license or anything. In Colorado, you don't have to have a business license, and you just like do your taxes. I'm trying to think of what the hardest thing. It really wasn't difficult to do my taxes. So, I did them myself. So you just keep track of your expenses. I think my first thing was trying to figure out my expenses, trying to figure out, just keeping your books together. And like, you can get like QuickBooks and it'll do that pretty easy, or just use a spreadsheet. If you're a new author, that's all you do. And actually, this is probably the last year I'll be able to use a spreadsheet, because it might, they get more complicated. You have more things going on, but yeah. I should say Christy Hovland is a local author also, and her husband is an accountant. So I think he has his own business. So I will try to get that for you guys also if you need that, because he's real familiar with author stuff, like accounting, if you need that.
Great, thank you. Linda says your slide, what does she say? anyway, people evidently are just loving these slides. I am loving them. Is it possible to get a copy of your slides to go back through later?
Sure. And I sent you a copy of that, Erica. Do you think I can just leave that with you? Or do you need a
Yes.
copy?
And no, that's great. I can find it and send it out to everybody that's here. And then Elizabeth is asking about your editor recommendation.
Yes, so I have that right here. So this is Kirsten Terrett, and I'm just pimping her because she's amazing. She's a teacher down in Durango, but she, I'll be honest, I used a few other editors that I couldn't publish with because they did not do a good job for me. And I even found errors in my first book. Like I went back and I had a reader tell me about errors in my first book. And I was just like, Kirsten is amazing. I'll tell you, her stuff is clean. She edits for, anyways, she's wonderful. So she just started, I think this is her business email, in one sitting editing at gmail.com. And she's inexpensive, but she is, I have to just praise her enough. I won't go to anybody else. And I've seen people charge way more than she charges and they will not do as good of a job. So I hate to pimp her, but I know she's looking for more clients right now. And she's local. So that's what I love. I have also Trish Benito is a Colorado gal, but she's out of, I think she's in the US, but her husband's active military. So she's not in Colorado right now, but she's from here. And she's a local cover designer, which is awesome. And then my last thing, I know I said no personal assistance, but if you can pay for help and you have a budget, Janie Harvey, she's one of the people that taught me a lot of what I learned in the authoring community. And then last but not least, if you are on Facebook, go to 20 books to 50K. They are the end all be all kind of Encyclopedia Britannica for authors, for new authors, for seasoned authors. Look them up, go to their Facebook group and you can search tons. I mean, this is a huge wealth of information right here. And this is a big part of the author community. And I also wanted to say is find your niche, go online, search for other groups of authors in your genre. If you haven't already found that, look for it, because that is a huge gold mine right there, is to get involved. So I'm losing my voice, I think.
Yeah, no, you're getting comments that say this has been a wonderful workshop. Thank you. And more thank yous. And you did a lot of talking. Thank you so much. Thanks so much from Terry. And you're getting lots of these come in. I can't figure out how to download the chat, so you'll just have to believe me that everybody's saying thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. I mean, that's, this is part of what gives me a lot of satisfaction. It's like, if I can help other authors, like I said, that's worth it to me, because that only enhances my life. And I appreciate that. So, I mean, I appreciate you guys. And if there's anything else that you guys want me to talk about or to go in depth on, I'm more than willing to do that. Cause it's tough. It's a great community, but it is a tough business. And the more, I'm a big believer in the more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be, so yeah.